And welcome to Cardinals Nest 2.0. This is the show where we bring on alumni of St. Mary's University and get caught up with what they're doing now and, of course, relive some memories from their time at St. Mary's. We don't have to go too far back with today's guests. We've got Rick Palermo and Alex Zappa, 2016 graduates of St. Mary's, but I guess it is coming up on 5 years now here in May. I'm Dean Beckman, the faculty athletics representative for St. Mary's. My co-host, as always, is Donny Nadeau, the sports information director. Both Rick and Alex are producers now with Fox Sports. So, Donny, we've got a couple of fellow media personalities on the show with us today.
Yeah. You know, I'm gonna start out right away and say how proud I am of both of them. I mean, to be working at Fox Sports is phenomenal. And Alex, I really hope that you don't miss your flight. I know you're doing this from the airport, which is pretty awesome. But you know, we were kind of joking before we started taping that it's going to be 5 years in May, and honestly, it feels like just last year you guys were in my office talking to me about what you were going to do after graduation, and here you are both doing very well in a field that you know, certainly is not easy to do. So. Alex, we'll start with you. Just kind of fill us in on the last 5 years.
So, well, again, Donnie, it started off with you giving us $20 to call games for basketball and hockey.
Which we saved, by the way. We didn't spend it later that night.
No, we did not go to discount liquor and we did not do that at all. Long story short is, again, I was a double business major. Rick was communications, but I was business. And you know, you graduate and then all of a sudden I'm thinking like, man, I can't be at a desk all day. Like I'll go nuts. I'm dyslexic, ADHD. So I bartended in the summer, kind of bid my time and got a lucky break. Ended up reporting for a show on 45 TV through Andy Price. Just a guy who believed in me. Like me and Rick, we did some work at HBC, which was awesome, but we were not these Division I, like kids going to Missouri or these schools that are root schools to big media programs. And so got lucky, got a meeting at Taylor Corp, which got me a meeting at the Timberwolves, which got me a meeting at Fox Sports North. And just from there, over the 5 years, have somehow carved out a career that pays me to be in sports and do what I love. So it's to your guys' point, Dean and Donnie, I can't believe it's been 5 years. It doesn't feel that way. But man, what a 5 years it's been, and it's been fun to do it alongside Rick too.
And Rick, why don't you go ahead and kind of get us caught up on the last 5 years? You know, I agree with Donnie. Seems like yesterday, not only were you in his office, but Donnie and I were then trying to figure out how are we ever going to replace Rick and Alex to do the webcasting here at St. Mary's? And we've hobbled along since then, and but we're doing fine. But Rick, you were a big part of that webcasting here at St. Mary's and really carried it for several years during your time at St. Mary's. So maybe talk about how that kind of got you started in what has become a very interesting sports career for you since then.
Yeah, well, the backstory to that is Chandu Valuri's international business class kicked me in the behind. So I'm like, I'm not doing business anymore. So I took an intro to mass comm class, which you taught at the time, Dean. And yeah, and then one of your field study projects was, hey, go out and do a radio show. So Alex and I did a radio show downstairs in the rec room. And then that kind of translated into, hey, we can call, you know, live sports. We can call the men's and women's basketball games and then hockey games. And man, what a fun time that was. We had some really good teams then. Courtney Early won MIAC Player of the Year the first year we did broadcasting. So, you know, it helps when your teams are successful early on to really get your foot in the door and just get you passionate about doing that. So that kind of opened the door to me in the media career. And then, you know, graduated last day of college, I like said goodbye to Zaps, and I'm like, yeah, I'm never going to see this kid again. Like little do I know, a year and a half later, we're living together and started working at Fox Sports North together. You know, and I originally wanted to do play-by-play, you know, since calling all the basketball and hockey games here at St. Mary's. I thought, okay, like this is an awesome career. I want to do this. I'll pursue it. You know, I talked to a bunch of alumni from St. Mary's who have been kind of in this road and just kind of people giving me advice, but I couldn't get a job. It was like, 6-7 months, I tried getting a job as like, because, you know, if you want to be play-by-play guy, you got to apply in Wichita, Kansas, or, you know, the Idaho AAA affiliate or single A affiliate, you know. So none of that really worked out. Moved up to Minnesota, take a part-time job, and, you know, now 3.5 years, 4 years later, producing pre and post game shows on Fox for Timberwolves, Twins, and then Bucks and Brewers. So it's been an eventful few years.
And both of you have certainly paid your dues leading up to this point too. You both talked about working for HBC, and Rick, you also did a pretty impressive internship sort of post-graduation with the American Junior Golf Association. So just kind of tell us what you learned from not only working at HBC, but through your internship, Rick, and then Alex, you can bring your thoughts in on those things after that, Rick.
Yeah, I got this crazy internship that started like 11 days after graduation in 2016 with the AJGA. And I was a communications director for junior golf tournaments for an entire summer. So it was, you know, and being able at St. Mary's, being able to work in many different fields. Like I got the writing from the classwork stuff, but then at HBC, I kind of knew how to do camera work. I learned that part of it. And then, you know, managing the baseball team and doing all these extracurricular things, I built up kind of a portfolio of abilities and skills. And I used that at the AJGA internship. And, you know, I had to take pictures of every single golfer. I had to write round recaps. I had to interview players. You know, I had to run social media pages. And so being well-versed in college, I was able to, you know, kind of thrive in that role. And then, yeah, it's kind of building blocks, you know, so, but being proactive at St. Mary's and getting my hands involved in a lot of different areas really helped with that.
Well, and going off of that, like I owe Rick so much, because what he brought up earlier is that like Rick came to me and was like, hey, do you want to do this radio show? Rick came up to me and said, hey, would you want to broadcast games? And Dean, with you introducing us to HBC, Rick worked there his junior year. And so my senior year, Rick's like, hey, do you want to make $13 an hour doing? I'm like, yes, I need money for school and everything.
Well, and it was so much fun too. Like we were running camera for Winona State football, or you know, whatever it was.
100%. And it was one of these things where it gave us a glimpse into, wait, people get paid to do this? Like, it's kind of like movies. Like you watch a movie and you think, oh, that's cool. And then you realize, oh, wait, people actually make these. Like someone writes a script and there's directors and photographers. Like I think HBC showed us like, this is a reality that is out there in this world. And this is something that we can actually do potentially and get to. And so I think when we graduated, we both, like, I can't tell you how many times when I was bartending that summer and Rick was on his AJGA internship, we would talk about like, dude, what if we can do this? Like, what if, just all these what if conversations. I think the fact that we were both just so passionate about making it happen some way, somehow, led us to Fox and led us to these opportunities. And again, Dean, to your point, it took sacrifice. Like I've been lugging equipment to high school games, getting paid $75 for a game rate to do games, just to get reps in the snow.
And it's cold because the state is freezing.
And that's so our jobs look pretty cool now, but it takes a lot of work. It takes conforming your life to make this goal work. It takes two guys in their 20s living at a kid's mom's house. So it's not easy, but if you love it, the journey is so worth it and it's so fun. And again, I owe Rick and you guys a bunch of credit to giving us opportunities to do these things. And then, you know, St. Mary's gave us an ability to take advantage of that once we graduated, for sure.
You know,
the other thing I'd like you to bring up, Alex and Rick, is talk now specifically about the jobs you're in now. Because Alex, this whole interview, you being on 2.0, kind of started with an email you sent me. And you said, hey, Dean, I thought you'd like to know that shows Rick and I are producing are on sort of back-to-back tonight. And so it struck me, you know, I think our viewers would find this really interesting too. So maybe get into some specifics about the shows, the sports programming you produce at Fox Sports, and then your specific role in it.
No, absolutely. So right now I'm producing a show called Wolves Plus, which at Fox Sports North, we've partnered with the Timberwolves for. So Marnie Gellner hosts the show, and each week we're either with a player, a coach, and executive, and it's a long form podcast that I'll then edit into a TV show. And so it will typically air at 6 o'clock, before Wolves Live, and then there's the Wolves game, and it'll air after Wolves games too. Now, Rick, being the producer he's calling all the shots for Wolves Live. So he's on mic with Annie Sabo, our host, and our Kevin Lynch, our analyst. And so when my Wolves Plus show debuted, I just looked at the TV guide and I saw Wolves Plus on Fox Sports North, and then I saw Wolves Live, and it just kind of hit me like these two kids from St. Mary's who had no idea what they were doing somehow got to this position. And it was just kind of a cool moment, and something when you have something like that in your life kind of happen, you think back to the people and the places that made it possible. And that goes back to you, Dean, educating Rick, and Rick passing some of that wisdom to me. And Donnie, you dealing with us plugging an internet into the wrong cords for basketball games and hockey games and all that stuff. So it's an awesome show. This week I was editing down a 68-minute interview with Jim Peterson to 23 minutes to fit into the show. But it's all fun. And so that's kind of what I do. And Rick, as he mentioned earlier, he's producing Twins. He's producing Milwaukee Bucks, because at Fox Sports North, we also do some work with Fox Sports Wisconsin. He's producing Twins in the summer. And so, Rick is doing some really cool work. And with Wolves Plus, I've been able to do some cool stuff too. And I will just say, I'm also a digital reporter for Fox Sports North too. So I've been doing some stuff with high school athletes and collegiate athletes. So again, Fox Sports North is somehow paying us to do stuff, which is amazing. And we're just going to keep faking it till they find out we're just a bunch of phonies.
Yeah. And we're kind of, making a footprint at Fox, being able, because we're really young to be doing this. Most of the producers are.
If you could just kind of explain, as Alex said, you're producing the show. What exactly does that entail for you on a daily basis or on a nightly basis when you're producing a show?
Yeah. So pregame show, it's a 30-minute show. It airs before Wolves, so for Wolves Live, we're doing Wolves right now, 30 minutes before the game, and then about 30 minutes after the game. Longer if they win, but they only have 5 of those this year. Or is it 6? I don't know. But so producing entails, like, I'm essentially scripting the show. I have 21 minutes and 20 seconds of content to fill on air. That's not including the commercial breaks. So, and you have to hit a hard time. Like, you have to plan a 4-segment show with 3 commercial breaks, with multiple talent. I have 2 to 3 people on camera that I run the show. Plus we have Marnie Gellner, who does a reporting hit. Plus we have Dave Benz and Jim Peterson, who do their hit as well, something similar to what they're going to be talking about later in the game, how they start the game show. So we've got a conference call at about 10 a.m. for a 7 o'clock game. So I'm in the office around 8:30, 9 o'clock, doing a little prep work before the show. And then I'm there through, through post game. So it's long days, long hours, but again, we're watching sports. And so pretty much the main thing I do is I script the show. We talk to everybody. What do you want to talk about, Kevin Lynch or Rebecca Brunson? And what do you want to talk about, Marnie Gellner? So we figure out all these ideas about the Wolves and whoever their opponent is that night. I script it together. It takes about 4 hours, 5 hours, send the format out. And then, once the show happens, I'm on headset talking with everybody saying, okay, we're going to talk about this topic next. And then when Kevin Lynch is done talking about this, we're going to go to this topic, and kind of just facilitating and running the show. That's what producing is.
So when those anchors are looking so smooth and know exactly what replay is coming up for whatever, that's you guys behind the scenes, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep. You're in their ear, and you're pushing down on the talk button and telling them what's coming up. So it's a team effort, and that's why I love this job too, is because what I thought TV was I thought there was a cameraman, and I thought there was the play-by-play and the color commentator. But really, it's a collection of 30 to 40 people, and bigger depending on how big the show is. But it's a team effort, and one person messes up, then there's a trickle-down effect. So. And it's live TV. Mistakes are going to happen, but it's a great team environment, and it's great to work together and to do these kind of fun things for entertainment. Right? What we do, we're entertaining. We work so people can enjoy when they're not working. So it's great. great position to be in.
Rick, a follow-up question for you. I'm curious, during a Minnesota Twins broadcast, if you're producing the post game, I'll bet you're not a fan of extra innings, right? Because in basketball, you can kind of predict how long an overtime period might go. But baseball, you don't know if it's going to be 10 innings, 12 innings, 20 innings, a lot of unknowns there.
Yeah, well, baseball is my favorite sport, just overall. And one of the other producers who was training me in, he's like, man, baseball's a grind, man. It sucks. And I'm telling him, dude, no, I love baseball. It'll be great. But then when you're doing 150 games, and it got rained out last night, so you're at a doubleheader today. And oh my gosh, we just tied the game, which is awesome. But that means we could be here another 2 hours, and we have to be up tomorrow morning. Yes, it's a grind, but it's the grind is different because we're getting paid to watch sports here.
It's a topic that I always hate to bring up, but I think it's important. Alex, I'll start with you. How does COVID, or how has COVID affected not only what you do, but broadcasting in general?
No, I mean, that's a great question, because it's something that we're still adjusting to, I think, till today. Example for our Wolves Plus show, this whole offseason, we were building a studio. It's a beautiful studio. We haven't been able to use it. We were originally going to have Marnie Gellner on one side and the player on the other side. So we've been having to Zoom interview, just like we're doing, with the players. And so, I mean, I have to give so much credit to Marnie Gellner, because I'll tell you what, with a second leg, seeing a guy that you've maybe never talked to, if it's a rookie, on this little tablet, trying to make that type of connection is so difficult. And as far as reporting, I reported for a TV show on 45 TV. That show hasn't came back because just the reality of business and sports, businesses are hedging a little bit. Our biggest sponsor dropped it. And guess what? We're not on air for Fox Sports North. My digital reporting, all my reports have been over Zoom, getting footage over YouTube and courtesing those sources. I haven't been face-to-face with an athlete interviewing them in over a year, which is crazy, because I would do that every week my first 4 years. So, at Fox Sports North, it's spacing out employees, it's the shields, it's wearing masks, and just being careful. And it's bizarre. Thankfully, we haven't had any outbreaks at Fox Sports North. We've been pretty safe so far. But and for Wolves Plus, again, we would usually be in the room with the players, getting to know them, being able to make those connections we can. And for Rick, it's totally changed your workflow, I'm sure too, Rick, right?
Yeah, I mean, from the game producers and commentators and reporters, they would all travel to road games. Well, now there's no more travel, so it's the producing aspect is kind of the same, except there's more room in between people in our work area, and there's shields, there's plexiglass shields, and all the masks and everything. But really, it's really hard for the play-by-play guy and the color commentator, who are used to sitting courtside in an NBA game watching the action develop, because how do you analyze a game from a two-dimensional screen? So that's more difficult than normal. Now they do have a couple extra cameras, they have extra monitors in their setup, they get a few ISO feeds that show up differently than what you see on the screen, but still it's really tough, kind of for everybody. You just adapt, we're making the best of it.
And Rick talked about, but just like when we were back in Twin season, Dick Bramer and Justin Morneau are calling games in Pittsburgh from Target Field. And so you don't have the same replay looks you would have. You don't have the fan. And I would say just the fans, like I miss so much the cutaway shots to the little kid that's super excited seeing their best player. Just the small things that you appreciate are missing, but it's going to be exciting when we get them back. For sure.
And about the fans, that's a great point. Sports aren't as good without fans in the stands, like not hearing the cheering. And basketball, we saw it affected really early on in the season. A lot of NBA games were blowouts because, well, if you get down and you're down 15 at the start of the fourth quarter, how do you muster up a comeback? Fans really have affected the sports industry.
Have you both thought about how important your jobs are right now? Because with few activities for people to go out to, in-home sports viewing has probably skyrocketed. So that means more eyeballs on the product that you're producing.
I'll go first, Rick. And Dean, do your I'll never forget. I don't even know if I want to admit this. Me and Rick are at the poker table. You know, we're kind of hanging out, and kind of on COVID doomsday, pre-COVID. And we look up at the screen and we see, oh my goodness, Tom Hanks has COVID. And then we see, oh my God, Rudy Gobert's COVID. And we thought we were kind of bulletproof. We're like, oh, sports are never going away. We're fine. We're never going to get fired unless, you know, we stop doing our job. Then we were furloughed for 4 months, Dean. So there was a time where we were not working, but now since, you know, COVID's kind of settled down, we've been able to get back to work. And to your point, Dean, that is the best part of our job. And Rick said it earlier, is we are entertainers. We are here to bring a product to people that they can enjoy. So it has been very cool to be able to still work. And we're very lucky that we are able to go to Fox Sports North and see employees, because there's so many people that are working from home and that don't get to see the people that they work alongside with. And we're lucky enough to be able to do that right now. So we thought we were bulletproof, and we got one kind of made it through, but we've came out on the other side. So it's been good.
Yeah, it's just nice to be able to work and to go to work, and we go to the office because we can't do our jobs from home. We just don't have the equipment. You know, we can't produce games remotely like that. Not yet. Maybe in like 10 years, that'll be the norm. But yeah, it's just good to be able to work and to the face-to-face interaction with people, you know, socially distanced, of course.
Well, we've got about 5 minutes left here, so I think we better get to some of the personal questions that we've reserved at the end, just to have a little fun and learn more about you. And Donny, should we alternate between Rick and Alex? I'll let you start, but go ahead.
I'll go with Alex on this one, since he is in an airport. Alex, you're on a road trip and you're hungry.
Okay.
What's your go-to must-stop place to eat?
Okay, so again, I want the most amount of food for the least amount of money. That is where my mind is at all the time. So I'm going to Chipotle because I want predictability. I know what I'm going to get. I know I'm going to be full for 4 hours. And
No,
and here's the deal. I'm playing it safe. I'm not going to take risks. I'm on vacation. Now, if I'm on the West Coast, maybe some In-N-Out. Maybe I'm getting a little creative. Maybe I'm getting a little double cheese and a fry. But most times I'm going with what I go with best. I'm going Chipotle. Sorry
Donny,
to let you down,
the guy
Donny.
who is at the gambling table says he's not going to take risks. What do you
see, we missed that out of Dean.
All right, Ricky, you're next. Favorite sports teams besides the St. Mary's Cardinals, of course.
Yeah, right. Gosh, Chicago Cubs, number one, baseball, and Wrigley Field. Again, it's just the greatest place on earth.
Rick, I miss our texts back and forth during Cubs Cardinals games sometimes. We got to pick that up again.
Yeah, well, you guys just got the best third baseman in baseball, so I don't know if I'm going to be texting you much more often. Yeah, Cubs all day.
Alex, I know you're leaving Minnesota today, but it's going to be 10 below this weekend, so you're probably not going to get outside. What's your go-to Netflix show that you binge watch on a cold weekend like we're going to have this weekend?
Wow. So I love TV. I love movies. Binging, I've been on New Girl lately. Weirdly, like I've done the Friends thing. I've done the How I Met Your Mother thing. I mean, I've gone through all of those. So right now, it's New Girl. I started Dead to Me, which is pretty good. Christina Applegate, severely underrated. Linda Cardellini, so good. So yeah, I would say those two. Yeah, but I prefer movies. I'll say frankly, I'm more of a movies person than a TV person. But when I'm going TV, I'm going that route.
Rick, your favorite baseball moment at St. Mary's?
All right. I know we're limited on time, but this is a good one. So I was the student manager at St. Mary's all 4 years, and we were doing bunting instruction on the field. Okay. So we got multiple stations. I'm at the mound, the pitcher's mound with, it's called the rookie. You put a ball in it and it shoots the ball it's like an automatic pitcher. So one of our freshmen, Chicago kid, good guy, we're not going to name him. He's struggling. He can't get the bunt down. So head coach Nick Winicky steps in and he says, now wait, to me. So he says, like, hold on, I'm going to show him how to do it. And so Winicky grabs the bat from the kid, steps in the box, and he says, now go. I'm thinking, like, you want me to put it in? Okay, like he's going to show him how to bunt. I put it in. Right when I put the ball in, Winicky steps over home plate, drills him right in the side. And the whole, like, practice just, like, froze because, like, everyone's trying to hold in their laughter. And I'm just like, Oh man, I just drilled Coach Winicky with the
You
rookie.
thought you were going to be fired, right?
Oh man, and this was one of the random practices I had to leave early, and it was after that drill. So I drill them. Okay, like a couple minutes later, the drill's over, and I like sprint off, and I like waving back, sorry. It was a good time.
Donnie, we'll have you do one more question, Alex, and then
Yeah.
we'll close it out with one
Short on
last
time.
question for Rick, and then we'll have to go.
So, yeah. So, Alex, you could sit down with any professional athlete to talk sports with. Who would you pick? Anybody.
Wow. Amazing question. And I'm obviously just buying time right now. I don't know how you don't go with Tom Brady at this point, because one, I just love his chip on his shoulder story. Two, he's had a bunch of success. And three, the guy looks happy all the time, and he's aged incredibly well, and he's doing it in his 40s. So I would love to hear about his days at Michigan with Bill Belichick and now in Tampa. So I would go with Tom, but I'm going to think about this, Donnie, and I'll get back to you because I might have a better answer.
Sounds good.
And Donnie, you can
Okay, I
ask
got
Rick
one
the
last
last
one for you.
question.
I got one last one for you. I've been saving this one up, and you have no idea where it's coming from. When you interned for me, you did a lot of really cool stories, a lot of cool videos that I still love looking back on. And one of them was with a certain shortstop who's homeschooled from a certain town. And I want you to spell Joe Seeger's hometown.
Oh my gosh. Isn't it Oconomowoc?
It is.
Oh, I suck at spelling real words.
And the reason I asked that question, the reason I put Ricky on the spot there was because the whole bit was he had Joe spell his hometown, and he would put it up on the screen, Oconomowoc. And so that was by far my favorite video that you did for me, and it was because of the way you did it. And I just figured I had to put you on the spot.
Oh, thanks, Donnie. Gosh, I forgot about that. Yeah. Always trying to be innovative, always trying to find some new creative way to tell a story. And yeah, that's kind of what, you guys at St. Mary's helped us kind of the way we should think and the way we should do things. So yeah, that was a pretty good one.
But I'll just
All right.
add quickly, the only reason that we are in TV is because, we can't spell. We can't do many things. So we do TV so we don't have to just send emails, basically.
Someone else types it out for us. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Rick Palermo, Alex Zappa from Fox Sports. Thanks for joining us today on 2.0.
Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
All right. That's going to
Pleasure.
do it
Thanks,
for
guys.
Cardinals Nest 2.0. Thanks for watching.